COVID-19 pandemic changed our lives. It has reshaped the way we use technology every day, from the way we work and learn and how we access services. I'm Belinda Esterhammer and I'm a tech strategist. The Heinrich-Böll Foundation in Hong Kong invited me to explore what digital life looks like today. Traveling still seems impossible for many of us. Let's take a closer look at how these innovators contribute to fight the pandemic. Let's take a closer look at the stories.
Hello, I'm Yeung, co-founder and CEO of Prenetics. Prenetics we started back in 2014 as a genetics testing company. Our main focus is actually on genetic testing, right? So what we are able to help individuals, we help them provide very accurate genetic blueprint of themselves. So for example, we'll be able to tell individuals in terms of what disease they may have a high risk to.
How did your company pivot when COVID-19 spread across the world?
In early April, we launched Project Screen by Circa, which is a COVID-19 at-home test kit that you can perform in the comfort of your own home, send it back to our laboratory, and you get your results in 12 to 24 hours. In May of this year, we announced a major partnership with the UK Premier League, in which we're providing 40,000 tests to their players, staff, and coaches in a way for them to resume their season. A few months ago here in Hong Kong, we announced Prenetics was the only Hong Kong local laboratory to work with the Hong Kong government in COVID-19 testing for the high-risk clusters.
You are working on a digital health passport to ease travel. Can you please tell us more about it?
Travel, for many of us, whether it's family, for business, it's something that we desperately miss. Right? And even, again, many people have not seen their family for months since COVID started. We're actually partnering with the Commons Project, which is a nonprofit organization backed by the Rockefeller Foundation, as well as World Economic Forum. So their mission is actually to provide a global health passport so that you can provide negative COVID-19 results to the app. And then when you travel-wise, then governments to governments will be able to recognize this passport. It has to be from a third-party neutral perspective and it has to be trustworthy.
Your mission is to give people the power over their own health. Can you please tell us more about Prenetics' plan for the next 2 years?
We're going to be rolling out a rapid COVID-19 test, right? And so what this enables is that rapid, frequent testing will be able to prevent outbreaks and at the same time safeguard the economy, right? Because imagine if everyone was getting tests on a weekly basis, imagine that test was $10 US. And you can do it at a pharmacy or anywhere that you can walk in the store, get results in 15-30 minutes, uploads to your passport, you can use that for travel-wise. Everyone will do it, right? The challenge right now, it's still quite challenging to do a test. You may have to go to a clinic, you may have to go to doctors, you don't know where to get tested, you don't know if the accurate results are validated, etc. So what we are working on is a game-changing technology, again, where you can have accurate results within 15 and 30 minutes. It's low cost, highly scalable, and the reality is that it will not need a laboratory, so you can do this anywhere.
What does it take for a somewhat new normal to resume?
Winter is going to be a very interesting time because that's the winter, that's the flu season, correct? But the symptoms are the same for COVID, right? So everyone's going to be very, I would say, anxious or paranoid in terms of, hey, is this flu, is this influenza, or is this COVID, correct? And so the key thing is going to be testing to ensure that, hey, which one do I have? So make sure that you're isolated in a fast manner, and the results need to be fast.
My name is Ronald St. John. I am the co-founder of SITATA.
Hi everyone, my name is Adam St. John and I am co-founder and CEO of SITATA. We created SITATA to keep your travels worry-free. And one of the main ways we do that is we use software to monitor global news and social sites for any type of travel disruption. Could be a disease outbreak, could be a protest, anything. And we notify you in real time based on your GPS or itinerary information. And we can also connect you to assistants such as doctors, telemedicine if you need help when you're abroad.
What's the story behind your company? You have such a unique story.
We're a father-son team, and largely we created the company based on my father's experience. So he retired as Director of Emergency Preparedness for Canada. So things like SARS, Ebola, terrorism, all of these types of concepts fell under his division to help Canadians stay safe and make sure Canada had an adequate response plan and measures in place for different types of events. And in the early 2000s, 2001 or so, 2002, he led a team that created the world's first digital disease detection system called GFIN. And this was a system that in a very crude or naive way could go out to the internet and blogs in various countries and get early warning signals of disease outbreaks. And at the time it was very innovative and also very successful program. It was accredited for detecting SARS early on in the outbreak of SARS. And the motivation didn't stop there. So my father quite rightly sort of knew that travelers are the ones that could quite easily spread disease around the world. And so he wanted to create a system that could notify travelers of the things that were happening around them. And so we built that, but we used more modern algorithms, and we started with disease outbreaks, but very quickly realized that we could expand beyond just disease outbreaks and cover other types of events as well.
We needed an early warning. We wanted to know more about what was happening all over the world. And that led to, as Adam said, GFIN, which stands for Global Public Health Intelligence Network. Originally designed for governments, for the World Health Organization. But after I retired, we decided people should know about this too.
How do you actually detect diseases and events?
If you can imagine this big funnel of information, now we need to filter it somehow. So that's where we use techniques like machine learning, which do a very good job of finding the types of events that we like to find. So over the past number of years, we've trained these algorithms to find things like a disease outbreak or a violent protest or transit strike or anything that will get in your way. And those events get set to the side for analysts to review. And then we notify users in our system that way.
So how are you making sure that the information you provide is accurate and you are not spreading fake news?
An event like an earthquake is a fairly obvious one and easy to automate. But as you rightfully pointed out, some events could be fake news or politically motivated, and it can be sometimes hard to figure out what's going on. So that's where our analysts really play a strong role in this overall system. At the end of the day, they ultimately will review the information, double check, make sure it's not fake news, cross-reference, sometimes even reach out to contacts within the origin country and have the ultimate decision on whether this is noteworthy and relevant or not.
So you caught COVID-19 back already in December when it was still reported as pneumonia. So can you please talk us through the moment you detected it and the timeline for COVID-19 and what happened when you alerted your users?
The system picked up the newswire feed that there was an unusual number of cases of pneumonia in Wuhan. We usually are a little bit cautious in the beginning. So we wait about 2 days while we monitor other sources of information. And at that point we say, no, this is real. This is happening in Wuhan. And we then issued our first alert on January 2nd that there was an unexpected number of cases of pneumonia in Wuhan, and the cases had not been explained by laboratory testing yet. And that was our first alert out to the travelers.
What kind of technologies have you really seen that came out of this pandemic that have not been there before?
Traditionally, the way we stop an outbreak of disease, of an infectious disease, is we do what's called contact tracing. Countries have developed an app, several kinds of apps that the traveler or the person is required to install on their mobiles and it gives people warnings that they have been in contact or in close contact with somebody who has the disease, without humans to have to go and find them and tell them. And then that person is advised to go get a test. That would shorten the time enormously and decrease the number of person hours necessary to the contact tracing. And every time you do it faster, you have a better chance of stopping the outbreak before it gets a foothold in the population.
What do you think the travel industry is going to look like in the next like 1 or 2 years?
I think it'll take at least that long to rebound. Most countries, after a vaccine is developed, will either demand proof of vaccination or PCR negative test. I then also think that you'll see a rise in counterfeit vaccine certificates and PCR certificates, which we're already seeing right now in terms of PCR test certificates. I think the same thing will happen with vaccines. If there were ever was a time for some sort of global vaccine registry, blockchain powered, perhaps whatever technology spin you want to put on it, it's probably now.
I'm afraid that some media are overemphasizing this vaccine is somehow going to be a magic solution. But even once you have an effective vaccine, you can't, in a matter of a week, let's say, or a month, vaccinate the entire world. You have to produce the vaccine. It takes time to produce it. It'll take time to distribute it around the world. It'll take time to implement it. So there's going to be a gradual spread of protection, but it's not going to be instantaneous.
Do you think there's ever gonna be a going back to normal, or do you just think that there's gonna be this new normal that we all adapt to?
I for one think that we will gradually get back to where we were before. I don't think we'll be in a constant new world.
I like to say that an informed traveler is a safe traveler. If you have the information about safety and security and health wherever you go, you can take measures to stay safe yourself.
I'm currently in Hong Kong at the airport, flying to Austria. Traveling during a pandemic. I am here today at Vienna Airport meeting Akemi, who's the founder and CEO of Bespoke, a travel app which pivoted during COVID-19. She's going to tell us more today about what her company does and how she's working together with Vienna Airport.
So my name is Akemi. I'm the founder and CEO of the company called Bespoke that I built 5 years ago. 2011, we had a huge earthquake back in Japan when the whole nuclear plants blew up and tsunami and all those things were happening. And I got stuck on the 20th floor of a high-rise building. When we evacuated out of the building, it was just like a Godzilla movie. People had no idea what was going on. The whole event was scary enough, but not knowing what was going on made the experience a lot worse. So today, my company, we actually have a solution to address that exact issue. So the solution we have today is automated messaging using AI. So you ask questions like, what's going on, or do I need to evacuate? And then our system would send you responses immediately, where to go and what to do.
So how did your company pivot when COVID spread across the world and customer needs changed?
We went from focusing 100% on tourism to 100% to handle emergency communication. So previously it was more about helping people find places or like discover places. or like we would help out like here and there during typhoon, hurricane, all these like different events. But then after COVID, all we do right now is to help people, help our partners inform passengers and tourists of like COVID information. So for instance, like where to get tested.
Can you please share some insights on what travelers are asking your chatbot nowadays?
Because information is not really centralized, and you call the embassy, they tell you something, you call the airline, they tell you something else, and then you get totally confused. So all these people who currently interact with chatbots, they ask about visa requirements, test requirements, any questions related to travel restrictions, like entering another country.
So how did you shift from working mainly with corporates to now working mainly with governmental institutions?
Government entities actually started reaching out to us more than before because they are the ones that needed help the most in terms of like a real-time information at scale.
So how is Vienna using your product?
For customer perspective, first one is like information around COVID, and the second is information around the facility and area in general. And for our partners' perspective, it is also two different things. One is like to use the technology to communicate with passengers and travelers in general, real time at scale, without using humans. And then second is to collect passenger insights so they can work to improve customer experience here in general.
I'm currently on a plane back to Hong Kong from Zurich. Plane is completely empty, there's only 8 people in economy. I'm curious to see how things are once we land back in Hong Kong. I arrived successfully in Hong Kong and I'm in day 2 in my quarantine. So the arrival process was really smooth. I got taken through several steps until I was able to actually do my COVID test. Then I just had to wait for my result, which came after around 6 to 7 hours. Everybody who was negative, the whole flight was negative. They then took us on a bus to then immigration, where we were able to officially enter Hong Kong. I'm wearing a wristband, and this is linked to an app on my phone, and it means that when I arrived yesterday, I had to turn on this app on my phone.
Okay.
And this app is connected to this wristband. You have to have your wristband on at all times. You have to have the app turned on at all times, and you're not allowed to leave your premises. Today is day 14 in my quarantine, and I received a message from the government where they told me that my 14-day compulsory quarantine period ends today midnight. So this also means that the COVID test I took on day 10 tested negative, and also this means that I am allowed to cut off my wristband tonight. And it's really great to see all those innovations that are going on around the world, because these innovations will really help us in the future to travel more safely. Thank you for watching. Look out for our videos on technology trends in education, health and social impact.